and Curtis. And this time, Adam.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Shawn Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Legends of Grayskull podcast, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, and Order of Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Annuals, comics, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of with that He-Man, She-Ra, Master Universe, Princess of Power! That Mattel logo down in the corner. I'm once again Matthew Duch. Hopefully that woke up Mr. Curtis Akerman. And we're joined by special guest Adam McCombs of the Battle Ram blog. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
We're here. I'm slowly waking up. That did help.
You're welcome.
I got more sleep than Curtis, so I'm doing okay.
Wonderful. I want to thank you guys for coming in today. We're taking a break. I know our faithful viewers know Curtis and I have been churning through the MYP series. We're approaching the season finale of season 1. We've had some wonderful 2000X toy reviews that we've done. But today we're going to take a jump back to modern times because we got a ton of toy announcements between New York Toy Fair, WonderCon this past weekend. Definitely some good stuff coming up.
And a connection to 2000X.
1,000%.
Yeah.
That's all. Stay tuned for that. Don't touch that dial. But first, I know, Curtis, you brought up beforehand, part of WonderCon, Mondo did release their exclusive 1/6 goddess figure. Did either of you gentlemen pick that up?
I did not.
I got it.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. I blame Shawn because like 2 months ago, it was totally off my radar. Like, I'm not going to collect Mondo. It's too expensive. And then he gave me a good deal on He-Man and Skeletor. I got a comp copy of Sky Sled, so like, okay, all right, now I need a goddess to go with my He-Man and Skeletor display. So that's how that happened.
Beautiful. Yeah, I saw your review of your pictures of the Sky Sled, and it looks amazing. So, and it couldn't have gone to a better person. Like, Battle Ram blog has to have a Sky Sled.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, how do I get that thing? But yeah, it worked out that I got comp. It came out like the 10th anniversary of my blog too, so it was all kind of like the stars aligned.
Beautiful. So now, are those shipping out now, or was that more of a pre-order for the goddess? I didn't even look into it because
I didn't know, but I saw on I checked on a forum, somebody was saying they ship out in August.
Okay.
It didn't actually say on the order form though.
Gotcha. I also, funny enough, I noticed that, and obviously the goddess is sold out now. I mean, she was sold out very, very quickly. Beautiful looking figure. Nothing, just not, Mondos are expensive, so I got to keep it kind of to my
big.
bread and butter. Huh?
And big. They take up a lot of shelf space. So,
yeah. And we'll be getting to a problem with that later in the episode as well. I also realized, and this is kind of on me, I kind of took a little bit of a social media, kind of pulled myself back a little bit. I need to do that once in a while just for my mental health. Did you guys know that Mondo released an Evelyn, or put an Evelyn up for pre-order like a month ago for 10 days?
Yeah.
Did you order that, Curtis?
I did.
Nice.
Did you? Okay. She's beautiful. I just saw her for the first time today, so it was able to resist.
I did order that one. I think I'm at like 13 Mondos now, and the Evelyn will make 14, and then I've got room for one more, which is me holding out for Triclops. So There's some other great ones out there. I mean, the Buzz Off was amazing. What they showed so far for Manny Faces is great. The Goddess was awesome, but I just, you only got so much shelf space, and so I got to make decisions. So I decided to kind of stick with, He-Man and kind of his main companions, which for me is Man-at-Arms, Tila, and Orko. I got Battle Cat, obviously, and then Skeletor and his kind of main collection of evil warriors. So Beastman, Merman, Evelyn, if I get Triclops, and I do have Trapjaw and Faker as well. So
they did put Triclops on that Sky Sled box art, so I'm guessing he's coming.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to get him at some point for sure.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna hit all the main guys for sure. I've just got He-Man, She-Ra, Skeletor, Hordak, and then Battle Cat. So just gotta keep it to the basics, nice and simple. And, So
I did pick up Orko when it because they threw a bunch back up on their site last week. I think it was like a week and a half ago. And I did get Orko when it was back up there. I passed him on the first time, and it looks pretty awesome. So
yeah, he is a great figure. That one and Buzz Off were the two most tempting to me in recent, but I held off on both, and I didn't find out about that in stock sale until after everything was sold out. So saved me again.
I was actually on a work trip in Chicago, and I heard about it, jumped on, was able to buy Orko. A bunch of other stuff was already sold out, and then it was it sold pretty quick. So I don't know how many that they threw up there, but it wasn't a lot, I don't think.
No, I'm sure it was just their probably honestly customer service stock mostly that they were probably taking back.
Extras in case there were problems,
canceled orders, stuff like that. No, it didn't seem like there was second run or anything like that.
I did have a funny thing happen though. So I ended up getting mine in this past Wednesday. I got it in, opened it, whatever, took some pictures of it, sent it to some friends, and then on Friday, a box shows up from Mondo, and it's another Orko. I'm like,
what?
I'm like, what the hell is this? So I reached out to my buddy Bob from Mondo, and I was like, hey, I ordered one Orko, but I got two. I don't want to be like one of those NECA people that tries to keep the extra, layer thing. And turns out that another friend of mine, he had placed an order and he had shipped me something not too long ago and accidentally put my address in as the default. And so he sent me his. So I had to tell Bob, disregard. And now I gotta slap a label on it and send it out. So
you gotta love it.
Yeah. But I thought they messed up and sent me two.
Sure. It's definitely been known to happen.
Yeah. I just because I knew we were talking Mondo, I brought this up next to my desk. If you guys want to see it.
That's beautiful right there.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have that. I just felt like the price point was just a little too high for me for that.
Yeah. It's not cheap for sure, but it's a beautiful piece for sure.
I mean, compared to the price point that they had on Battle Cat and what that is and how hefty and articulated and all this kind of stuff, then you put out that for close to the same pricing. It's like, man, when you compare those two, it's like I just feel like you're getting a lot more for your money for Battle Cat.
Yeah, I totally get that
for sure. I mean, it is iconic and it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
But and then for those of us whose space is limited, that's you could potentially have a whole nother figure or the Sky Sled. So but I definitely get it. And for everyone who got it, and that's that's beautiful. So
that is one though that if at some point it ends up back on their site, or if I find, I don't know, that because I always thought of Triclops on that, right? Like you saw him a lot on Filmation, just kind of flying around on that. So once I get him in hand, I'm probably going to have that bug saying, man, I really need to go get one of those.
For sure. All right, let's jump into some of the reveals that have come out. First off, we did have Mattel Creations announcing their Club Grayskull exclusive club. No,
Speaking of an exclusive club,
we've got Mr. Shawn Scavarna jumping in.
Shawn.
Taking Hasmo too.
Thanks for joining us.
hold on, something's not right about. We got to throw this guy up there. There we go. You got to do that. Come on.
Oh, too.
Hey, he showed up late.
Nice.
He goes wherever.
I did. I'm the tardy one. So yeah.
Got to give him top billing.
Oh no.
All right. So we're just jumping in. First off, Mattel Creations did announce a Club Grayskull exclusive club. Now, unlike the old Classics club that Matty Collector used to offer, this one's only $10 a year. But essentially, it doesn't get you anything physical, but it gives you the opportunity to buy exclusive items and items ahead of other people. So anything that comes out, like I believe they recently did the Rio Blast pre-order, you'll get like 24 hours early access. And then they do have a couple club exclusive figures that we'll pull up in pictures in a second. Did any of you guys jump onto this club?
No.
I jumped on it just out of curiosity, even though like most of them I'm probably not gonna get. Like I did get Hero for a buddy of mine who wanted Hero. Mostly I had in mind like, okay, what if I'm not collecting a lot of Origins, but they're like if they do like the laser figures, I would definitely get those. And so I thought, well, okay, what if those are Club Grayskull exclusives, or even if they do like the Giants, I would probably hop on those just because I'm never going to get the original Giants, so that'd be the closest I'd get
For sure.
Vintage style.
And even if they're not an exclusive, you still get that 24-hour early access. So
yeah,
I mean, I definitely get it. If you're collecting any sort of Origins collector, like $10 for the year to kind of lock in your ability to purchase that, it makes sense. Absolutely. So let's jump to the figures here. You did already mention we do have the Hero. That is the member exclusive one. You can only order that if you're a member. Definitely based on the vintage prototype. They did end up doing VAC metal. What you guys think of Hero?
I didn't even realize. Like I wasn't keeping up with this stuff. So that's. I will say, the first thing that came to my head seeing that photo is he looks fabulous. But
fabulous secret powers for sure.
Fabulous secret power, yeah. But no, one thing that I think is a plus is the VAC metal. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed that they went there.
Yeah, and it looks. This is the best vintage style Hero I've seen.
Yeah.
No offense to Super 7, but kind of offense to Super 7. That one looked weird. All right.
I think they did a good job overall. I've always thought Hero, to me, he looks like he's a stockbroker in cosplay or something. Just the way the big grin and the 80s hair, you know.
Sure.
I've never been a huge fan of the look of the character, but they did a good job on him.
Yeah, and this is another figure where I didn't know about until the internet and He-Man.org. So like for those people who knew about this or whatever back in the 80s, I'm sure this is like, oh, awesome. But for me, it's just like, okay, like it's cool they made him, but I just don't have an attachment to him.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the reason I didn't get in this whole, collector club thing, and I just don't collect these lines like the Origins,
right.
Masterverse. It just, once I got attached to Mondo, like that's the only aesthetic that I like now. Anything else looks kind of childish to me.
Sure.
And it's just a preference thing. And, one of the things with these, like I love that, it's kind of that vintage feel, but you still have like the articulation at the knees and things like that. But I do hate that they put out a lot of stuff that's just molded in a certain color plastic, and then they do 0 paint hits to it. So like those bracers there, that it's like you look at it and you're like, wow, there's like really cool sculpture detail there. And if they would have just put a wash on it or even hit it with some dry brushing or something, it would really pop. But instead they just molded in this color and just throw it out there. And I'm like, that's just not for me. So,
but at the same time, it is an upgrade from vintage where that would have just been flesh colored.
Correct. Well, and it would have been attached, right? You wouldn't be able to remove it like that.
Exactly. So definitely get it. And one of the interesting things is this is the club exclusive figure, but he is shipping right now, from what I understand. So as soon as
I already saw Jeremy DeWitt did a review on this on their, like when they do on Facebook, they go live, and looked. I mean, for what it is, it's pretty cool. At least they didn't give you a non-vac metal one first and make you buy that, and then turn around after telling you they can't do vac metal and put out another one with vac metal. So.
Well, they knew you weren't collecting it, because otherwise you would rip them in two, and that would have just made Mattel go, and all that stuff. But
it is kind of interesting. I would like to find complete side thought, but I would like to find some industry expert that could explain how like vac metal in the 80s was good, but then vac metal around the time of like classics and into like the early Silverhawks line that Curtis might be referring to was bad. But now vac metal's good again.
I think the big thing from what I've heard is it's when you have points of articulation. So like something like this, like none of the articulation points, like the joints itself, are vac metaled. It's just the solid pieces, and then the other pieces are plugging into it. So I think that's cool. But even if you look at like the vintage stuff, when they did vac metal and there was articulation, like it chipped off like crazy. We were just used to our toys getting beat up because we were taking them out and playing with them in the mud and the street and bathtub and everything else. So
no, I completely get that. But even classics hero, his armor wasn't vac metal.
Yeah, that was just Mattel being cheap.
That's possible too.
Yeah, I know if it's soft armor too, that makes it difference. It's harder. Like it'll chip off a lot worse if it's flexible armor.
That was what my understanding was too, because like Buzzsaw Hordak or whatever.
Yeah, he should have had
Hero. And like those weren't vac metal, but that armor piece was so pliable that it made sense they didn't go there.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got our next. I believe this is also a Club Grayskull exclusive, but correct me if I'm wrong because I don't pay a ton of attention to it. But
I think it was just early access for.
It was just early access. Okay.
Yeah.
But we do have Voltac through MattelCreations.com from the She-Ra animated series, and he is also shipping now. So that's kind of what I was saying. Like they threw out this Club Grayskull. And even with their Mattel Creations exclusives, like it's interesting that they're having these made, shipped to their warehouse, and then they're offering them up. So like they're not, you'd think that they would be operating a bit more on a pre-order system now, but obviously they still have a lot of faith in the Origins line that they feel comfortable producing these obscure figures and just having stock on hand.
Yeah, and it could be something where they were trying to prime the system. Like maybe the first few, they have some ready to go and see what the interest level is. And then from there, if it looks like there's certain characters that don't sell as well, maybe on those in the future, they do more of a pre-order style. So
yeah, it's possible.
At this point, I figure they know their numbers at this point. The line's been going on for 5 years now about that.
Yeah.
So, they've seen the beginning of it where everybody was excited because, oh my God, it's my childhood again. And then it's gotten to where it is that I think they're like, well, we can average about this. And, maybe they do a second run if there's more members eventually or something. But I don't know.
I will say they're really hitting their stride though right now. Especially for me personally, these cartoon collection figures are I have not collected Origins, but these cartoon collection figures, I think, are some of the best figures that Mattel has produced since Classics. So they're just kind of that reminiscent body, very screen accurate, but then also like on Voltac, you can see he's reusing the wings from Zor and Screech, like, you know, they probably would have done in the 80s, you know. So he's not a character I need to have, but he looks great. He comes with the little robot from the Zoo Story episode. Yeah, I think a solid winner.
Yeah, he looks good.
All right, moving on. We're going to go into the new Masterverse. Now, as everybody knows, we are entering the 40th anniversary of She-Ra this year. So there's definitely a focus on her and the Horde, which I like that they're pretty much lumping the Horde in with She-Ra at this point. No offense to you old folks who love him as a He-Man villain, but for me, he's always been She-Ra's villain. But yeah, so Masterverse, new Etheria Hordak. Yes, they have also updated the box art so that the She-Ra characters will say new Etheria as opposed to He-Man's new Eternia line. But yeah, we get a nice updated Hordak. His cape has become wings. Other than that, he's pretty much Hordak.
It looks cool. I mean, if you would have put this up on screen and told me this was a Mondo figure that was coming, I would have gone, yeah, I could see that. Like it to me, this looks more like a finished product. You got a lot going on here. I love those wings. Like that's really cool. The translucency and it's just a really good sculpt and paint job on the face and armor and everything. It looks awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah, the face for me, the face almost has vintage meets 2000X with how he looked on the show.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And that's one of those things for me, at least, with the Masterverse line. Find me the right He-Man sculpt for the face. Like find me, like they have never been able. It blows my mind. The actual company that made He-Man in the 80s cannot figure out what face to use for their main hero character in their line, but then they can do this, and I'm like, well, that works. So, but He-Man also is a harder code to crack, I guess, when it comes to that, because everybody has their He-Man in their head of what it is. But yeah, like Curtis said, the translucent wings. I even like the staff. I like the staff is almost like a minimalist version of what you would think of from the classics Hordak.
Sure.
And it's kind of got its own vibe that I really like. So all in all, this is actually a really, really nice figure.
Yeah, it's interesting. The staff, I think, with the kind of the snake, or it's probably it's a tail wrapped around that, like his original concept art, like it had something like that. It was like some kind of creature wrapped around some kind of gunish weapon. They seem to do really good at like monster faces and costumes,
for sure,
and female faces too. They're really good at that. But like human male faces, they struggle.
Yeah, and to Sean's point, too, He-Man is a tricky character, and a lot of people try and make him a bit more facially pleasing. Like they want to make him a little bit more of a pretty boy when the vintage He-Man wasn't. He was very strong, but yeah. But yeah, Hordak looks great. And yeah, the Masterverse definitely, when they're doing their creatures, Clawful, Whiplash, that's where they shine, when they can really just go to town with these designs.
Yeah.
Next up. Go ahead.
Real quick though, I do agree with Curtis about this. This actually, if I looked at this and nobody told me what the size was, this could be a really nice Mondo version of him, like a 2.0 or a deluxe version without all the bells and whistles, unfortunately. But yeah, like it works.
Definitely. Next up to combat the new Etheria Hordak, we have New Etheria She-Ra. Definitely taking some design cues from the classic, the vintage version. New kind of headdress and very vintage looking shield. And unfortunately to me, my one complaint about this is the very vintage toy looking sword. I get what they're going for. I love that it's a nod to the original toy. I like my twins to have matching swords, though. That's probably my biggest between that, and I'm not a fan of the actual white feathery headdress. But those are my two complaints about her. Other than that, I think they did a really good job paying homage to some previous versions of her.
Yeah, she's pretty solid. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, like, my biggest gripe, like, just as a painter, I see that shield and I see the details in it, and it makes me go, man, like, if you just even gave half a shit like that, you could really make that thing look good. Like, there's a lot of sculptural detail there. They just don't care. So that makes me sad, really, to see that, because it's like somebody there at Mattel is putting all this work into the sculpt, and then they're going, yeah, but we're not going to throw any paint apps on it, so nobody's going to ever really know that it's a good sculpt. And then I guess my second gripe would be the face just does not feel She-Ra to me. Like it's like I don't know, 20-year-old gal wearing She-Ra, cosplay. It just doesn't feel She-Ra to me. But
yeah,
it is what it is. So
yeah, like you said earlier about the He-Man head, I think I just yep, that's a face. Someone made a face. Like okay, moving on.
Yeah. This is like I just complimented their female faces. At least the ones from the recent Comic-Con. Yeah. I didn't really like the face on this one, but most of their female faces are really good, I think.
Yeah. It's almost
I don't think it's like an ugly face. Like, it's not like it's like, it does look like a human face. It just doesn't look like She-Ra.
Yeah, I think they struggle with that heroic face. Like, you give them an Evelyn and her little sneer, glare, and they're like, yeah, let's go. But for whatever reason, they struggle with the heroic faces.
Yeah, I will say this doesn't look hopeful. Like, this looks like resting what face. Like, this is not like your like, this is the leader of your heroes, and that's the look she's got. Like, that, yeah. So
RBF is a real issue, Curtis.
Yeah,
we raise awareness every October. Okay.
Well, I mean, you could look at this face and say this is her. Yeah, I said what I said. Face. That's kind of that look, in my opinion. I don't know. There's an actress. I can't think of who the actress is. Where it's like it looks like her in cosplay to do this.
Helen Hunt. That's what I was thinking.
Helen Hunt. I
see that.
Sure.
I could buy that completely, but so for me at least, and with how they did the whole Princess of Power He-Man introduction when I was a kid, I didn't mind the idea that she had different looking stuff compared to He-Man. And then I saw Secret of the Sword, and I go, oh dear God, there's a theme song to this, and it sucks compared to the Touch by
shut your filthy mouth.
If you're gonna call me old, I will always call out that theme song as being really hard. But I was literally like crawling down in my seat when I was watching that in the theater, going, I didn't mean this, Mom. I'm so sorry.
I have broken out into that song on this podcast before, and I will do it again. You watch yourself.
Do Adam and I need to leave for a little bit? Let you guys work this out.
It's been so long that Dooch and I have been on the screen together that now here's our grievances. We're doing this now. But I really love the way that they updated the stuff, like the sword, honestly, in this. And that was always something that I felt it would have been cool if they did it in the animated version, but then they went with the sword of protection being the power sword, but with the jewel in it and stuff. So in the case of this, I actually think it's really cool that they nodded to all of the stuff that I thought made her a little more unique and special when I was a kid. But that face sculpt is like, man, you got like 95%, and then all of a sudden you tripped and fell and didn't hit the finish line because, man, that thing is not working. But it's like they basically looked at that tweeter head statue. And they go, let's do that. What about the face? Jim and accounting will figure something out. We'll go there. And then that's what you get. And it's like there's really good stuff to this, and I really appreciate what they did, but it didn't stick the landing for me.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with that's prevented me from collecting Masterverses. They rarely stick the landing. There's always something that bothers me on most of their figures.
Well,
but there's always something that's good too.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the design choices they make are really like I'm actually impressed that Mattel's looking at other sources sometimes and going, let's add these touches to this to make it like Mondo would have done this. Why don't we try that here or whatever? Tweeterhead did this. Let's try that. But like on the whole, the figures for me always look janky. They always look like marionette puppets because the way the joints are and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, Classics knocked it out of the park years ago and could make this look more complete if it was a Classics figure or if it was Mondo doing it or whatever. So,
yeah, particularly really the elbows and knees on the male figures just bug the heck out of me.
Yep.
I just can't. I can't deal with them.
Fair enough. All right, I think we're up next into some Origins figures. Oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot about Terror Claws Skeletor, Sean's favorite vintage variant.
Yay!
So obviously,
Skeletor.
This is New Eternia Terror Claws, new armor. They did not go the vac metal on him. A ton of new Terror Claws. He's got a helmet. He's got. I like how they kind of snout spouted, or like they did with Clamp Champ in the upgrade, like having those tubes go to a backpack like they're pneumatic tubes to help with the Terror Claws. Like that's a really neat idea.
Well, and then they use like isn't that like the New Adventures arms where he's got some like metal attachments to the bicep itself.
Oh, I didn't even notice that, Curtis. Good eye. Yeah, he does definitely have some robotic pieces there as well.
So I feel like that's just a really good use of parts to make it look like you're saying, like that is attached. It's a, it's not a separate piece. It is something that, is kind of wired into him.
Right.
So,
and yeah, that is the New Adventures arms. But they hit it with paint apps this time, which they did not do. Sorry, on the actual figure, the New Adventure Skeletor they released, it's got that there, but they didn't hit it with any paint apps. So that's a nice little upgrade for this version.
Yeah, everything that I was saying about them not caring, not putting the time towards the paint apps and stuff, they killed it on this one. Like I'm not going to buy it because I don't have room for another collection. But I think this thing is super cool. Like this thing is metal as heck. I love it. Those big claws, the tubing coming to it, the mechanical parts on the arms, the little visor, the little translucent visor that he's got, like the whole thing on this. I'm just like, yeah, this is freaking cool. So
yeah, and now it makes me wonder if that head is the New Adventures head as well, because it's got the removable helmet with that. So I'm betting that Skeletor head is the New Adventures head too, and they just made the new helmet.
That's cool. I even like the tubing going to the skull on the chest, where it kind of looks like horns on this skull. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a creative. I've always found, like, of the vintage variants, this guy's my least favorite, but I like the updates that they've done to him. It makes him look a little bit more creepy, kind of like a movie villain character from an 80s movie.
For sure.
Yeah.
So Mattel, we have a very bipolar relationship because I've said for years how much this is my least favorite Skeletor there is, and somehow you managed, after I've just insulted the Amy Schumer She-Ra, or whatever you want to call it, She-Ra, You managed to actually pull it off and have me go, this is an amazing Terror Claw Skeletor, even with the belly shirt. And it doesn't look like a belly shirt, that was a huge part of it when I was a kid. It literally looked like he stole some woman's shirt on the beach and he ran around with it because he didn't know what else to do. This looks like an entire fulfilled figure. Like, it looks like it all makes sense and fits together. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I think getting rid of the vac metal really helped on this one, where you don't need that shininess. That's just gonna. Skeletor is not gaudy like that.
No, but I mean, when you see that is, I mean, those are proper terror claws. Like, you look at that and you're like, oh crap, you know, like if he can you with those. That would be like terrifying compared to the other one where it's like, I got my nails done, you know, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, this is definitely, like Curtis said, I don't have enough room to start another thing, but this is one where I'd be like, if I was collecting this line, this would be a must-have.
Very nice. All right, now we're gonna bang through some origins. First up, we've got the recently up for sale Big Bad Toy Store exclusive 4-pack that I forget the name of off the top of my head, but it's the Army Builder pack. So you've got
Battle for Eternia. That's what they're calling it.
Right. Yeah, Battle for Eternia is the pack. Let me look up. So basically you have a Army Builder from the Horde, the Snake Men, Skeletor, and the Eternian Guard. I know I can't even with these guys. Like, these guys are so kit bashed. Like, the Horde Revenant doesn't look bad. Skeletor's little demon Skeletor doesn't look bad. I didn't like the Man of War armor, so seeing that same color scheme on the Eternian Guard doesn't really do it for me. And that Snake Man is just a hideous monstrosity. Go ahead, guys. What are your thoughts on these kit bash champions?
Go ahead, Shawn.
I mean, I'm just going to echo what Curtis said. Like, looking at these is the ultimate version of if they could just put some more paint apps on these things, maybe something would matter. But I'm looking at these and it just makes me sad because, you got the 2000X Skeletor sword and it's just this purple glob, and that shield has detail, but there's nothing there to interest you. The sword for Skeletor is very blah, like even if they would have went translucent with the blade, maybe just to give it a little something, but these are more kit bashed than the end of the line stuff they were doing in classics, in my opinion, because at least with those they had hints of characters that you're like, this would have been cool if I was a kid. This to me looks like somebody's kid got into their collection and kit bashed what they wanted, and then you come in and you're like, oh, we're not sticking with that. That is not what they're supposed to look like. I'm sorry. It just none of these. This is another thing. This is why Origins was never on my list of things I needed, because it just doesn't work. It doesn't pop for me.
So for me, like I said, I don't collect this line. This is not, Mondo's kind of ruined me for this aesthetic. But if I was somebody that was collecting this line, this is the kind of stuff that I would be in for, right? Like if you're collecting this, you're getting these things at a much cheaper price point than like your high-end figures, your Mafex, your Mezcos, your Mondos. So you're paying less money and you're getting fun, right? You're getting like the campy, like, remember when we got these things as kids and you saw Merman for the first time, or you saw like, just like these crazy things. You're like, what is this? Like, this is nutty. And that's what these do for me. Like, they're just nutty. So for the price point that these are, like, this is stuff that if I was collecting, I'd be like, yeah, give me more of this. Like, this makes me feel like a kid again, because I'm getting something new, but it still has a little bit of old in it. And it's just, something cool. Now, out of these, the two that stand out the most to me are the two at the bottom. I think that Skeletor looks awesome. He just, that helmet and the spiky shoulder pads. And that, I don't know, that Eternian guard I think is cool. Like I wouldn't need a whole army of those guards, but you throw in a couple of these as like maybe like officers or something where they're like in charge of the other guards. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, none
that's
of these
shocking,
do it.
Curtis. Just saying that.
I think the colors none of the colors work for me except for the Horde character, except for his red is too like faded. Like it needs to be a deeper red. So I don't know. There's something there. I kind of like. I want to like the two-headed snake guy, but I like the darker green. The pale green mixed with that doesn't work, and then like the pieces don't. Like the big snake head doesn't totally fit in with the connector. It's too big, and I don't know. It's a little messy. It's not. I'm not interested in it.
The way that I look at Origins, especially figures that we didn't have when we were younger, it's kind of like if they had shown me that, if I saw this, somebody showed it to me and said, this was a wave that they were planning at the end of Motu, but it got canceled. Like, would I believe it? And I do. Like, I look at this and I go, I could see them back then doing these characters. And if it meets that criteria, then to me, I go, that's a good Origins figure. So
honestly, that makes sense. I mean, looking at these, I'd say in my mind, at least, there is this, like, what would you do with them if you had them when you were a kid? And so I'm like already coming up with like backstory ideas, like, oh, well, the Horde guy would be like their brute force guy, and he'd be the enforcer or whatever. Curtis was saying, the guardsman would, for the royal guardsman, would almost be like the lieutenant or something like that, and he'd be like answering to man-at-arms and then going back to the troops and telling them what this or that. I think for me, the worst offender is that snake figure, though. That one just looks so hackneyed, and the other ones, there's a sense of, okay, this could be a character if you just let yourself enjoy it a little bit more. But again, it's that, the minimalism where here's the plastic that's purple, but then there's a lot of accents that don't do much that are lost and stuff like that. So yeah, but that, oh my God, that Snake Man is just like, God. That piece of plastic is going, why, God, why right now? It's just that. It's like nobody's gonna want me. I'm just with that guy because nobody else wants me. Kind of feeling like Toy Story or something.
So I did find their names. The Horde character is the Horde Revenant. The Snake Man is the Pit Warden. Skeletor's guy is the Skell Knight. And then you had the Paragon Champion for the Royal Guard. Those are available still from Big Bad Toy Store. $70 for the 4-pack, arriving June of 25. So go check them out if you are so interested.
So what's that work to be each? That's $17 each. Yeah, it's not bad.
That's pretty standard Origins pricing.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the cartoon collection. Obviously, She-Ra's 40th. We got a heavy She-Ra presence. First up, we've got Bo. I mean, we'll fly through these. There's no reason to spend a ton of time on them. I love these because they are the closest figures to the cartoon that we've ever gotten. And obviously, Filmation is the cornerstone of my Motu fandom. So yeah, they are just knocking my socks off every time they release more of these cartoon collections.
I mean, I think this is spot on what I would expect. If you told me that they were doing this figure in Origin style, like this is exactly what I would expect. Right. So now if I was building one of these characters from scratch, I probably wouldn't use the Origin style because he wasn't like a big buff dude, right?
I mean, if you're talking Filmation, he was as buff as Adam or anybody else. Toy, no, but
yeah, maybe. But I think they did a good job here for what it is. I think they did a good job.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, I'm glad they're focusing more on She-Ra this year. Not that I'm not gonna get him, but I want them to, do She-Ra right. Get the figures out for the Princess of Power series. So I'm glad that they put this out.
Absolutely. Sean's
I'll
good.
echo everybody else. It's cool that they're doing it for the fans that love it and that never got this version growing up. I mean, that's basically the cartoon collection in a whole to me. It's you watch the cartoon, but then you had a different looking toy to play with, but you still ran with it, and instead now you're getting more accurate to it, and that's cool. Although, where's his loot or whatever that was that they could have added that in with it too, instead of just having the bow,
And they might too.
She-Ra somehow, right?
I picked the best picture available, but it doesn't necessarily show all of their accessories, because that's the thing about the cartoon collection too, is they always seem to have an artifact from a particular episode that featured them as well. So I'm sure he's got something else at least.
Yeah. I'm gonna, if you go back to that for just a second, I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with you on the whole body structure on there, because I'm looking at pictures of him in Filmation She-Ra, and yeah, he's much more lean than Adam or He-Man. So let me try to pull up a picture here real quick. But I mean, you're not going to change the whole buck for him. I get it, but it doesn't necessarily work for this figure. Let me just share real quick. Like, that's much more lean, in my opinion, than like Adam, He-Man, Man at Arms, any of the,
My point was not like the toy, which was drastically. I mean, you put a vintage He-Man action figure next to a vintage Bo action figure, that's like hugely different.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that they're exact, like Filmation didn't go exactly the same, but he was like, you didn't put Bo and Adam next to each other and be like, dude, what's wrong with that guy? Yeah. Whereas if you put a vintage Bo in your Masters of the Universe display, you are like, oh, who's the Make-A-Wish kid?
But I think that's probably the decision from the folks that were doing the She-Ra line, that like you didn't want this big giant guy that like dwarfs all the female characters, right? Because then it's going to make him look like he should be the one that's stopping everything all the time,
Right.
So,
no, exactly.
And kind of like the in the Masters line, like Attila, Evil Lyn, they almost feel like a different scale than the male figures, just because they're so they're as tall, but they're like normal human proportions.
They're so petite comparatively.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. And I don't like, that's one of my biggest gripes about the vintage. And I think what hurt She-Ra a lot is being so far, the toy lines were so far removed from each other. But then I watched the cartoons and they integrated very seamlessly.
Mm-hmm. I think as a boy, and this might be, might need to sit down on a couch to talk about this. Sure. But I think the biggest thing was the rooted hair. Like, I got into the cartoon. I loved the villains. The figures started coming out. If it wasn't for the rooted hair, if they were made with kind of the vinyl, plastic, rubbery hair or whatever, I think I probably would have collected the female characters as well. Yeah. But that part of it as a kid, that's doll. That's not an action figure. That's a doll, right?
Yeah.
So
and see, I didn't even go. I get what you're saying, and I agree completely. But for me as a kid, I had She-Ra, I had Glimmer, and I had Queen Angela, and like it didn't bother me that they had rooted hair. What bothered me was that Tila didn't.
So like different, yeah.
That was mine. Like again, where like why? Because I didn't even think like. Yes, they came on a different card back, but I didn't. It's like it's He-Man and She-Ra to me. Yeah. So like, how come they made Tila this way, but then they made She-Ra this way? Like, you know.
See, what I did was I manipulated my sister into thinking that she cared about this line so that she would use her birthday and Christmas wishes on these figures. And then I would play with all of the evil characters when my friends were over. And when my friends were away and I was by myself, that's when I could play with the female figures. So
there you go. Mastermind.
All right, next for the cartoon collection, we have the Shadow Weaver, a must-have. Definitely,
looks good.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like every year and a half, we get another Shadow Weaver, and then we go, yeah, they look awesome. You know, it's like, but how many Shadow Weavers do you need? I mean, we've had like several really good Shadow Weavers over the last 5 years, so.
It's another one of those characters, though, especially for those of us who love the Filmation series, that she was so prominent. I mean, she was Hornak's second in command.
Yeah.
And she was a huge gaping hole in our vintage collection. So now we're overcompensating for that.
Oh, yeah.
That was my band name in high school, by the way. Huge gaping hole.
Well, I thought it was.
I thought you said
overcompensating.
Overcompensating. Either way.
I mean,
yeah, no, I get it. It's just, once you've nailed a figure, wow, that sounded bad. Once you've done a figure and you've done it justice, and you've, how many of the same figure do you need to keep putting out there? It's not like all the Shadow Weavers we got before were crap, and so it's like, hey, you know what we need? We need another Shadow Weaver. It's not really. We got several good ones out there, so. But this one's great too.
But this one is vintage scaled. So whereas the other great ones were the classic.
Well, didn't Super 7 did a couple that were, similar in scale, right?
They did one, but it had the vintage style articulation too.
Yeah. But look at this. This doesn't have, you're not bending the knees here. You're not, you're only getting arm movement.
Yeah, you get the elbow, you get the wrist cut.
Yeah, but anything from the waist down is all one solid piece, right?
Sure.
So
that's Shadow Weaver.
Yeah.
All right, then we've got Fang Man of classic Time Corridor fame, and he does come with the Wheel of Infinity from that episode. So
I normally don't like when they throw in the accessories because it just adds to the cost of the stuff. But this one, to me, I'm like, yeah, you got to have that with this guy. You can't not have that. So
for sure.
Yeah. I wish they would have. Maybe they will, but his little shock weapon that he had in classics, they should have given him that too.
Yeah, he might have it.
But I'm bummed out though they didn't give him ears. They based him on what Reptilax or whatever that came before, so he doesn't have ears like the Filmation version did.
No, that's disappointing. See, Mattel gets so lazy on. Besides, I guess he's got a new the newer, I don't know what you'd say, furry underpants area because he doesn't have the furry underpants, but you gotta at least give these guys a head.
He's got the onesie.
Yeah.
But I'm saying how many, but other than that, how much new parts is this? I'm pretty sure we've seen those boots before. Arms and legs are all standard. Give him a new head.
Careful now, you're starting to sound like a Legions collector.
Give him a new head.
So talking about parts reuse.
The one thing from this the Filmation figures that they done, these boots, they look weird to me. They don't flow right. They don't look quite anatomical with the rest of with the leg, how the leg muscles should go. I don't know. They look a little weird.
Yeah, it's hard to take it, and that's been my problem with everybody who's tried with the Filmation designs before. Is it's hard to take that animation style and make it into a 3D figure. It always ends up, and that's what I didn't like the Super 7 figures. I thought they looked really wonky. So yeah, I'm not saying these are perfect, but I just feel like they're they're the closest anyone's gotten.
When you're saying the Super 7, you're talking about the 5.5-inch ones,
the vintage as seen on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those were
the ones that had the worst He-Man head sculpt ever with the soccer mom hair.
Yeah, it was all bad.
Yeah. I love the colors on this guy. That was great.
No, you're good.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, no, Fang Man has always been. I love it's a classic episode. He's a great villain. He's one of those I wish we'd seen more of, honestly, in that era. So
that is something I think that the Origins line does really well, is bringing out all those bright colors. Like you walk down the toy aisle and you see this stuff and it does stand out just like it did when you were a kid, I know Dooch and I, we've talked about Cyclone, with the like primary colors on it that like shouldn't work. Like if you said, I'm going to make a figure, I'm going to paint it yellow, red, and blue and just like bright colors, you'd be like,
and the bright,
it's going to look yellow. Stupid. Right. Yeah. And then it's like, no, it looks awesome.
Yes.
So I think they do a good job of this for the most part, is just using those really outlandish colors.
For sure. Next up, we've got Grizzlor. He does come with the mirror that I'm forgetting the exact name of, but again, the Filmation artifact. This is my Grizzlor.
Solid looking Grizzlor.
You like sculpted fur Grizzlor, or would you rather have furry Grizzlor?
No, I've always liked sculpted fur Grizzlor.
Same.
Yep. Yeah, I just think it looks a lot better. He looks a lot more menacing. He looks less, I just woke up from bed.
Yeah.
I will say, I know it was last year. I can't remember if you were on that episode or not, Curtis, but the Masterverse Grizzlor, I think, did it best, where he's sculpted, but then like he's got some tufts of actual fur to kind of accent.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the best of both worlds. But if I had to pick one way or the other, sculpted just looks better to me.
Yeah.
I think sculpted is definitely for Filmation figure, for Filmation Grizzlor, that works best. Personally, I love the actual fur on my classics and my vintage. That's my favorite look for it. But this is good too.
Nice.
I love those boots. Those boots are just like, those are killer, man.
Dude, and it's funny, man, because even on my vintage Grizzlor figure, there was always something about his boots that, like, his boots and his harness was always just so unique. Like, yeah, I love my vintage figure too, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this is the smart prison master of Beast Island Grizzlor right here. Shawn, sculpted or furry fur?
I'm with Adam. I like the furry version personally, but I think this one with the face sculpt actually looks more intimidating.
Yeah.
I always liked the thought of like Grizzlor being more of a heavy than being like the prison guy, like on the show. So he would have been like, the Beast Man to Hordak kind of a vibe, and have that, he'd be the one going head to head against He-Man sometimes to slow him up when he's trying to defeat Hordak, and the way I used to play at least. And this face actually works better than the original face for me, and making him look more like He-Man. Go, okay, now we have trouble,
Yeah. And look at the boots too. Like those, that's what I was talking about before with Fangman. Like these ones are good. Like they follow the anatomy of the leg. The other ones, like Fangman's boots, they look like upside down traffic cones or something.
Oh,
I'm with Shawn on the Grizzlor. Like I always felt like a lot of Hordak's minions were kind of goofy. Like they worked for that show, but like if they went against He-Man and the Masters, like they wouldn't stand a chance. But this is the one guy that it was always like, okay, he can hold his own with the Masters. So
for sure. All right, then we've got our Orko. He comes with his hero medallion. And it doesn't show it here, but this I know for sure. So he's got the second face insert with the glasses, and then he also comes with a beard so that you can make him into Uncle Montork if you so choose. The only glaring error is that Uncle Montork would still have an O on his chest, which he doesn't actually have. But props for them for being like, okay, we're not going to do Uncle Montork, so we'll get as close as possible with the Orko release and make you all buy 2 Orkos.
yeah, I mean it's a great looking Orko. Nothing really much more to say about it. It looks awesome. They did a good job.
Yeah, very screen accurate.
Yeah, I might. Up till now, Classics has still held the place as the best Orko. This one might dethrone him. Honestly, they got the proportions just slightly more right, screen accurate wise.
I really liked the exclusive Classics one where it had the translucent stuff.
Mhm.
with
Oh, the
it.
color change. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Never had that one. I only had the regular one.
Yeah.
Classics one's really good. It's a little darker, which went with the original Classics looks.
Mm.
This one might be good if you've got like the Club Grayskull Filmation Classics. This
Mhm.
one might fit in better color wise with those ones too.
Right.
I
Exactly.
tell you what's not bad. The I just got the Mondo Orko, and it comes with a secondary Orko and
Yeah.
Brielle that are much smaller. I'm not sure why they did that. Like if you're buying this big Orko, why you need also a small Orko,
to
but
justify paying the same price as a regular Mondo figure.
I guess, but I'll probably be moving those. So if anybody's needing a smaller Driel and Orko, they're really good looking. They don't have great articulation; they only move at the shoulders.
Yeah.
But those are pretty good too.
Yeah, I haven't seen those in person yet, but they look good on screen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to go into the spy specifics because I don't want to, but we do have the. I mean, feel free to call out any specific one you want. I just mean I don't have individual pictures of them. We do have the Thundercats of Grayskull, Masters of Thundera, whatever they're calling their newest mishmash. I'm over mishmashes. Like Turtles of Grayskull really just burn me out, and I will.
I do like what they're doing here though, because they give you the parts to make them the normal look too, right?
That was my next point. These at least. So we've got Tigra, Chitara, He-Man, Skeletor / Mumra, Lion-O, Panthro, and Battle Cat Man. And they have the parts. They got their like mishmash crossover armor, but then they also have the parts where you could make that just a Panthro figure, or just a He-Man figure, or just a Chitara figure. The Skeletor Mumra has parts that may be either or. You can make a Mumra or a Skeletor or the mishmash. That is definitely the positive to this, is that they're like, okay, you can make a regular Thundercats figure in this scale if you want to.
Yeah. I think Masterverse kind of was it Master. Was there something before Masterverse? I mean, I know there was Origins, but like in that, was it called something different before it was Masterverse?
No, Masterverse has always been their larger scale since
so
they rolled out the retail.
When they started doing that, like one that I specifically remember is Beastman, but there were several around that time period where they did that, where they gave them like some extra armor and stuff, but you could not use that and just have kind of the classic looks. And then they, on some of these mismatch ones, they kind of went away from that, but I like that they're giving you multiple options so that you can, like I think that Lion looks really cool with his kind of hair pulled back and that one pauldron like that. I think that's a cool look. But then if you want to switch them up, you have the ability to do that. I think that's neat. And I must have missed this Mumra Skeletor thing. I did not realize that was all in one character. That's actually kind of cool. So
yeah. I mean, this line would have blown my mind as a kid.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of where I look at this one. It's like it's everything that if they would have put this out back in 1985, I would have been screaming every time we went by Toys R Us to please let me get one more of these, because this is something that I would have absolutely eaten up. But I'm kind of like Matt in that way now, where it's like I kind of just want Masters to stand on its own 2 feet, because Masters, out of all of the lines that we had as kids, I feel like they still want to handicap it with, we're going to pair it up with something else to make you remember why it's good. And it can do it on its own without any problem. I mean, this line, I think, actually appeals a little bit more than the TMNT version, which is really surprising for me to say. But it's like, you have the sword and sorcery with both brands. So it works on that level and stuff. But I mean, I'm not collecting the lines they're in. And honestly, like I remember seeing a photo of He-Man's face, and he looks like he had the most Botox that anybody ever did. And that just made me go like, well, here we go again. Why can't we get He-Man's face right? And everybody else looks pretty cool though. And but that Skeletor Mum-Ra is probably the crown jewel of it for me. And then my eye keeps getting drawn to Chitara too.
That Chitara is awesome looking.
So both of those for me are like they work really nicely.
I do think I just throw out one more thing on this. Like the Turtles of Grayskull to me felt like it was out of time, right? Because you had,
Right.
Turtles is more like late 80s, early 90s, whereas He-Man was early 80s, and it just felt like it just didn't really go together aesthetic wise. It didn't go together story wise, or the time that we grew up. This to me feels more accurate. Like I could see if this would have happened, let's say back in like 86, 87, when both lines were kind of dying down a little bit, and they were like, you know what, let's try to add a little juice to this by throwing these two worlds together. I think that would have taken off like gangbusters, man. Like this would have been something as a kid I would have been 100% into.
Same. Absolutely.
Can you imagine a crossover movie or episode?
Yeah.
Like, He-Man meets the Thundercats.
Like just Skeletor going against Lion-O, He-Man going against Mum-Ra. Like, hell yeah.
We would have never had to talk about New Adventures of He-Man if they would have gone there.
Dude,
this literally owned the late 80s if they would have gone there.
Panthro and Man-at-Arms just sitting around like a workbench, just like brainstorming different shit. There's a lot of fun there for sure.
I think probably my biggest issue with these is, the Turtles of Grayskull has worn me out on mishmashes, but I'm also reminded of the Thundercats Masters crossover comic that was just god awful, so like that's definitely tainting me story wise. I'm almost wondering if we're gonna get some new comic or something with these coming out like we did with the Turtles of Grayskull comic. So or if they're just gonna be toys. But if so, hopefully there'll be something better than we got before.
Adam, what are your thoughts on this? Because we kind of skipped over you.
No, that's okay. I don't have like super strong feelings. Like I'm glad for those who like them. They don't like push any of my buttons. And I love Masters. I like Thundercats too. I think I'm more like I just want to see like a really good version of the original character design. Like the mashup thing, it doesn't land with me.
Right.
The one thing that did confuse me on this, like you got 6 heroes and a villain. That's a weird thing to put out there.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I would expect to see a little bit more on the villain side just to kind of even things out a bit.
Yeah, especially because I'm also maybe not. For some reason that Mum-Ra Skeletor strikes me as he's probably going to be a deluxe figure because they always like to try and get a deluxe figure in every wave. So yeah, that would be even weirder if like your villain's your deluxe figure, and then for regular figures, kids have a choice. I mean, kids aren't buying this, but kids have a choice of one of 6 heroes. Like,
come on, we can still fake that narrative for a few more years.
Yeah, I mean, with like, for instance, like G.I. Joe. I mean, they literally just had Cobra Trooper and Cobra, like Cobra Commander maybe, and that was about the extent of it in the beginning of the line. You might have had Destro thrown in here or there, but it's kind of got that vibe where it's like, here's the beginning of something, but you get one villain, but thankfully the villain is Skeletor / Mum-Ra, so he's going to do some damage. It's not like Slithe is the villain or something, but but then that makes me go, okay, if they do a second wave, what is it going to be? Snarf Man versus Beast Man? It's like, It is a weird, like they kind of shot everything hero wise they could here. And the rest of it's like, okay, you get Man-at-Arms, I guess, Teela, and then they're up against the mutants from Thundercats and maybe Beast Man or something. It's a weird pairing the way they did it that way.
Yeah, I mean, other than the only original Thundercats you're missing are the kittens, Wily Kid and Wily Cat.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 3 second wave Thundercats. And that's pretty much it. Like Thundercats has always been like an oddly factioned line anyways, where you've got, was that 10 Thundercats basically just going against Mumra and 3 mutants, and then you've got like a Safari Joe every once in a while. Like,
yeah.
So
I tell you what though, I don't plan on collecting this, but if they give me a Monkey with Beastman armor, I might have to pull the trigger on that.
I could see a lot of Thundercats fans buying the Thundercats figures.
Well, they've kind of had a little bit of a drought, right? Like they haven't had much at the stores in a while.
No, not the store. You got Super Sevens slowly chugging along on their classics, but yeah, that's it. So that's what I'm saying. I could see Thundercats fans grabbing the 4 cats in the Mumra and throwing away all the Masters parts and just having a nice Thundercats figure. The odd thing is too, I'm 99% sure these are Origins Buck, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're pretty tall.
That's what I think. Like He-Man looks, He-Man especially,
and Lion-O looks really tall too.
You can tell though by the way that the wrist cut is and by the knee, because the knee has the flap on it still, just like Origins.
Yeah.
And the
Maybe they just got them more upright. A lot of times when we see Origins, they have them crouched down.
I think they extended the shin though.
It
does look like that, yeah.
Or maybe
these are more 6-inch figures then, compared to the usual Origins one.
Yeah, they definitely look bigger.
Yeah,
that had me questioning.
At least the ones on the bottom row, like the Tiger, does not look that tall, and neither does the Battle Cat one. But that Lion-O and He-Man look especially tall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they did. I mean, in classics, they did that King Grayskull is taller than He-Man because King Grayskull has a bigger boot. So they could have done something like that just to give some height variance within the line itself. All right. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go, guys.
This
This is what you all tuned in for. Mondo has finally shown off their prototype for their 1/12 Masters of the Universe 2000X line. We get to see our He-Man minus the soft goods on this prototype. So that's why the boots and the loincloth look a little weird, because they did confirm that those, the top of the boots and the loincloth are going to be real fur, just like on their bigger figures.
Well, also weird because he's got a fanny pack, but yeah. That's accurate. So,
and also I was looking at that. I mean, it is accurate, and it will look better once you have the bigger loincloth there, the actual loincloth. It almost looks like it might be removable too.
Oh, that'd be great.
If you look, it's definitely got separate pieces hanging it down and a piece that loops to the side pouch. So I'm wondering if you can pop it at the waist and that the actual belt part would be separate from the purse part, maybe.
As a customizer, I can tell you that everything is removable.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be a really
yeah.
And you can see there, it'd be
just a sharp X-Acto and done.
That'd be a really easy cut the way they designed it, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking it might be removable. We do see his shield, his sword of power, and 2 alternate heads. One that looks almost exactly like the 2000 toy.
Which one for that is it? The one on the right?
The one on the right. Yeah, that's the. I mean, it's a carbon copy. I was doing pictures online next to each other, and then kind of a more artist interpretation of that head and an angry modernized head. What are we thinking? Seeing this prototype?
You guys go first.
Shawn,
go ahead. Sean's jumping at the bit here.
This made my weekend. Since they released the production art, when was that? At San Diego Comic-Con, I think it was.
Yeah.
I have been so ready to just see this, and now that I've seen this, I'm really weird. There's a couple little things that I would say if they could have, but you know what? Even without that, This looks like the most solid, best interpretation of that aesthetic I've ever seen, including the actual Horseman stuff from that era. I mean, it's incorporating MB Creations, it's incorporating the cartoon, and it's incorporating the toy line that it's from, which that aesthetic has always been my favorite aesthetic from Masters, just in general, because I love the detail. I love that you see battle-worn weapons and armor and stuff that we never got as kids. This is literally like the ultimate version of He-Man for me at this point, especially with the scale, the 1/12 scale. I mean, they did everything right for me as a collector right now, because I don't want to keep doing the 1/6 because I'm running out of space. I don't have the ability to display all this stuff. This is perfect. So I absolutely adore what I'm seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing it painted now. So
yeah. This is the first like 1/12 scale Masters figure that I've seen for a while, where I have no problems with the anatomy at all. Even though I don't tend to like double jointed elbows and knees, like they don't detract from the look of it. There's nothing like that. That's like it's got the right level of proportions and bulkiness. I think the one thing was like, at least that the head that's on this one, he looks a little young to me, but again, that could be, it's hard to tell without it being painted up, and paint can change a lot of things. But yeah, it's basically like a shrunk down Mondo, figure in terms of detail, in terms of the sculpt. In fact, I think even like the anatomy is a little better than the Mondo male figures.
So a couple things. Number one, I've been really excited to, have Mondo do 1/12 for a while. I know in one of our Mondo reviews, Shawn and I were talking about this just shortly before they actually announced that they were doing it.
Yeah.
We were like, man, that would be a dream come true. That being said, I got a couple, I don't know about gripes, but maybe worries here. Number one, I do feel like there's some anatomy issues here. No, the hand, especially that closed fist, seems really small compared to the big bulky arms. It's just a really tiny fist, in my opinion. And I'm looking at comparison photos of like the series, the MYP series, and it does look off. The head also looks small, but that was what it looked like in the cartoon as well as the figures. So that's, not as worried about that. My biggest worry with this, though, is what is this price range going to be? That is my concern, because I'm seeing, I'm sure we're going to get to some of the other digital reveals that they did.
That's coming next.
They're looks like they're including some extra accessories, a base, and some things like that. And it's like, okay, so what are they going to have this price range be? That's the thing that concerns me, because if this is like $65, $70, I'm in all day. If this
do you want to table this for 1 second? You want to run through the rest of the reveals, and then we'll kind of finish up with price?
We can, yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's when I see this, I'm like, definitely price point is definitely going to come into play. But yeah,
I agree.
Way this looks, I think the two heads down below, I think, are much better than the one that they've got displayed on this. If I wanted more of kind of like, old school He-Man, I'm kind of probably going with the one down at the bottom on the left, with the kind of wavy hair.
Yep.
If I want the MYP look, I'm going with that one on the right. I doubt that I would use this head that they have displayed on this. But yeah, it looks great. I mean, 1/12, seeing the articulation, seeing what they've put in here for sculptural details. It looks awesome. Just not sure about the price. So
yeah, we'll definitely get there. I just want all of our viewers to know everything that's coming, and there's some speculation to some other stuff too. But I agree with everything you guys said. He looks great. I love that they used the original Horseman designed emblem there instead of the cartoon H. The power sword looks great. I'm hoping that's painted in more Mike Young colors rather than toy colors.
Do you think that it moves?
I don't think it does. It doesn't look like it has that cut. And thank God. That was my next point. that it looks to be one solid piece. So yeah, I vintage Filmation Power Sword is still my favorite, but this is a close second. I love this update. So
what do you see what I mean about the hand though? Like the open hand, I think looks right.
Well,
but I think if you were to close that hand, it would be much bigger than the fist that we got.
That's what I was just about to say. It doesn't. If I look just at the fist, it doesn't look bad. But if I imagine his open hand closed, now that you pointed out, I'm like, yeah, that would be bigger than that.
It might be that big bracer he's got that makes it look smaller by comparison.
Maybe
right hand.
It just looks like from the bottom of the bracer to the knuckles looks much bigger on the open hand than on the closed hand to me.
Yeah. For me, looking at the open hand, like that was one of the glaring things that drew my attention when I first saw it, because there is a weird way that hand is like almost like it's, I don't know, like I don't want to say it's arthritis, but
the thumb is cocked a little bit. Yeah.
It's like I get in martial arts they call it like an action hand, where it's like your hand is ready for anything, so you can grab stuff or hit stuff.
Anything.
But there's that feeling of looking at it straight on,
kung fu grip,
like a weird claw. I don't know.
It might be to hold his shield, like maybe it fits in with the way the shield goes on or something.
And honestly, even now looking at it, I'm questioning whether the fist looks wrong or the open hand looks wrong. I think it's more that
together they look wrong, but I
think it's more that they don't seem to match is the issue more so than anything else. It could also, like, this isn't quite a straight on angle and that right hand is back. Like this could be a holding the pie situation maybe as well. So
yeah, and I mean it is still an unpainted prototype. There's lots of possibilities for changes between now and the time that we see a final product.
Real quick, are you guys surprised that this is how far along they are? Like I
thought it was going to be ready for sales here soon. So
did I.
And I thought too. Yeah.
Because when did we see this initially? Was it like October?
San Diego.
It was last summer, probably like July, August last year. And
I expected to at least have prototypes for all the Wave 1 characters.
And that was, again, that was another thing. I know privately, Matt and I talked about that. But yeah, just to have them have He-Man in prototype like this. And then suddenly you're like, well, who else is in Wave 1? Right. And you have to still see their production art. That threw me. But then the funny thing is, when we get to that point, the production art has 2025 on it.
Right. Can I throw a little tinfoil hat out there?
It will be 2025, but it's like I thought you'd be a little further.
Talking,
yeah. No, I get it. I wonder if Mattel getting the DC license has maybe changed some things in this world, because if it feels like they said, yeah, Mondo, you can do this, but really just the MYP part of it, right? At this scale. And then they did their whole collector thing and they're doing more stuff online. And I'm wondering if at some point, because of shelf space, because of, the nature of collecting, if they go, hey, let's just stick with Origins as our kind of like in the stores or the less expensive figures, and let's license out all of the 1/12 kind of stuff to Mondo. I haven't heard anything like that, but that would be freaking cool if we ended up getting an entire Mondo, like everything He-Man would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe, but I'd also be slightly disappointed, because I was really happy that someone was finally focusing on 2000X, and if they get everything, then it's gonna slow everything down.
That's true.
My 2 cents is maybe with everything going on with DC and everything else, it slowed the approval process.
That's possible.
approval before they can move on to prototype or whatever. And everyone's so focused on the other stuff. It's kind of a, we'll get to you when we get to you, Mondo.
Yeah, I think there's just going to be a big problem in terms of shelf space at the stores. Like when you think of like your local Walmarts and Targets, things like that, you know, if you think of the space that Mattel has now, it's almost entirely He-Man, right? Yeah. And so now if DC isn't a small property. You're going to need some pegs for that. Sure. So in terms of that stuff, you got to make room somewhere. And what's the give? I don't think it's Origins. I think Origins is right. Too popular in stores to just not do that. So I think if something gets cut for shelf space, it's probably Masterverse.
Agreed.
Yeah. If like for some reason Mondo got like the license to just basically take over Masterverse and do their own thing, I'd be happy, but I'd be really poor.
Yeah.
that would be the worst of like, freaking Sophie's choice of figuring out what you're collecting from that perspective versus with Masterverse and Origins. It was okay. I'm glad it's there for people, but now if Mondo's going to take it over, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be living in my car. This sucks. I don't have that much shelf space in there. Come on, guys.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the rest of Wave 1. So next up, we've got, of course, Skeletor. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm hoping at some point they'll release better images. But yeah, we're basically at the whim of whoever was at the panel. But yeah, so we see Skeletor. He's got the cape removable. He's got a Havoc staff. He's got his dual sword. There looks like there's an extra either a flaming head for the Havoc staff or a flame accessory that goes on the head. And then he's got a couple different white skull heads and then a skull head that is painted in the vintage yellow and green color scheme. For the first time, we see that there is a base that is going to be included with these figures. His looks like the Snake Mountain rocks and lava flow. Curtis, take it away.
Yeah.
I think out of all the reveals, and there's a couple more to go through, I think this was the least impressive for me. Just as a Skeletor, I think it looks cool, but this does not scream 2000X Skeletor to me. Like that figure typically seems a little bit more emaciated. Like we've talked about it through the MYP series. Like he doesn't, when you look at Skeletor in that series, he doesn't look like he can go one-on-one against He-Man, which is why he has to use wits. He has to use his magic and things like that. This is a very bulky Skeletor. He doesn't have quite that skinny hunchback kind of creepy look to it. And that could just be the way that they've got it more standing upright, and maybe you can kind of, do an ab crunch and kind of bend it over a little bit more. But yeah, this one, looking at it, I was like, yeah, it's cool, but it doesn't scream 2000X for me.
That's a good point. Looking at it, it looks like you will be using the buck from, there will be a standard buck, and they go with that. Which that was something when they announced He-Man that I was like, I can't wait to see if they do differing body types, because that's one thing I absolutely love about 2000X. I didn't even think of that when I saw this, because actually the thing I thought of when I saw this was Skeletor very early in the line. That was mind-blowing to me, because when Matt and I did our what if, when it came to the Mondo line, he thought Skeletor would be like a little further down, versus I was like, I'm cool if they put He-Man and Skeletor out the first wave, because then you got your Alpha and Omega characters in the line right off the bat. The base surprised the hell out of me, though.
Yeah.
Out of everything in this, the fact that now we're going to be able to display them and not just stand them on a shelf, but now there's an actual like little base environment to put them in. That was amazing. But then I'm also like, well, what are they going to do for He-Man? Because that wasn't shown in the initial art. Right. So there's question marks I have with that. But so for somebody like that's why I keep throwing him up there. This is my 2000X homage from classics that I cobbled together. And one thing that bugged me so much about the classics line is they never had anything that would remotely come close to how Skeletor looked in 2000X. So he's always just been there on the shelf, just by himself. Right. And now this is like making my day so much going. It's a, 1/12 figure. The detail is going to be there. Yeah. I'm even without the emaciated look. It's like, I'll still love everything else about that though.
Yeah. Skeletor he's from the 2000X line. He's my favorite. And it's down to the details. It just the entire costume, just wall to wall detail. I love the strange small face with the everything on it. So it's kind of hard for me to, because all we got was this oblique picture from a slideshow.
Yes.
I can't really zoom in on the details. I'm sure it's gonna look great, but it's hard for me to get excited until I see really these clear images. But it's Mondo. I who the design team is. It's gonna be good. Yeah, I definitely would like to see it more emaciated, but it's again kind of hard to tell just based on this how bulky it is.
Agreed, and that's definitely a question I have. I have a feeling they are, like you said, going the basic buck route, but there's a chance, since there's no other figure on here, it's not high def. Like, there's a chance there is some sculpt differences that are going to give him more of that look, hopefully. But beyond that, yeah, the armor is spot on. I just realized that there's a little gas mask underneath the heads, so you can, from when the Stinkor episodes, Sweet Smell of Victory.
Oh, so, nice. I didn't even see that there.
Yeah, I saw it, but I couldn't figure out what it was for a while. I just figured it out now. So it's nice that they're throwing little things like that in. Interestingly enough, when we first, yes, He-Man's concept art did not have a base. I'm sure he will come with one now. And I'm curious if maybe they cut some of the other stuff, because that original art for He-Man had like a bunch of extra heads that we have that weren't shown with the prototype. They had like the concept art heads and everything. And I think there was more weapons and stuff. So I'm wondering if maybe they streamlined some of those extra accessories to either include the base or, kind of take that into consideration for our price discussion once we're through all the reveals.
Yeah. See, to me, and I know we're going to get into some of the more stuff with price and stuff, but to me, it feels like that base is going to be more of kind of your harder ABS type plastic, hollow. And it's just something they can throw in there to justify a higher price point. Like it's like, okay, well, we got to give them something. We're going to charge a higher amount. We got to give them something. Let's throw in this base that's cheap for us to make, but adds a little bit to the display value. So maybe, but we'll see.
All right, next up, we've got Man at Arms. Again, traditional 2000X look. Looks spot on. He comes with two maces, one in cartoon colors and one looking like the toy. I can tell there's a blast effect. I still haven't figured out what those two things above the blast effect are. He's got his big arm cannon, and then he's got the unhelmeted head, and his helmeted head looks like in probably more of a thinking and more of an angry pose, and of course his base.
I think those two things above the blast effect are like the color piece that kind of goes in front of his face.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I didn't think of that because they show him on in the concept art. So, yeah, so it looks like the face shield will be removable so you can display it, without it, because it would pop up in the cartoon. So, again, it wasn't a huge shock for me to see Man at Arms. Pretty expected, and this is one of my favorite versions of Man at Arms. Barring actual high resolution pictures, he looks great to me. Unhelmeted head, that big blaster, solid wave one choice.
Yeah,
I had to do a double take because of the forearm armor being kind of that gray blue, but because I've got the figure in front of me, then I realized, it was like that in the animation.
In the animation, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 2000X out of the heroes, Man at Arms from just a detail perspective always won me over, and I was never a Man at Arms guy as a kid. And this looks like again, it's just the aesthetic, and here it is in 1/12 6-inch form, like I've always hoped they could do. I'm just grinning like an idiot because I love that you got the cartoon accurate mace. I love that you have the vintage feeling mace. So whichever way you want to display it, you have those options. I'm in on this one.
For me, this was my favorite reveal. Like I think this guy is as close to a perfect Man at Arms as you could ever get. Like this. If this comes out looking anywhere close to this concept art, this may be my new favorite Man at Arms in any form. Just love the overall look. That one pauldron is sick. Love the extra head sculpts with it. You get the top knot look. This just looks really good. I'm super impressed with everything that they've got here.
So. Yeah, I would agree. I think Man at Arms and Tila are probably my two favorite 2000X designs. This guy, he looks spot on. It's great.
Yeah, the one that like Man at Arms for me for the heroes was first, and then the other one that blew my mind was Buzz Off, because I loved how they made him look so insect-like in that one compared to here's a little bumblebee flying around like the vintage version. So, like, when they get deeper into this line, I really hope they do, with him, they'd have to do the arms and the legs looking skinnier for that reason.
You'd hope so.
No. But, yeah, this looks like ultimate Man at Arms for me. Everything I always hoped.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's cool. He's awesome looking. He's jacked. Like, he doesn't look like somebody you want to mess with. So
the only way they could make this better is if they had that version of him when he's fighting Skeletor in the desert and all the missiles pop out. It's like, here's your deluxe Man at Arms with every missile on Eternia on his back shooting at Skeletor.
There's your WonderCon exclusive.
That's what.
Right
yeah,
there.
exactly. Exactly.
And you can use that unhelmeted head to make a Curtis Akerman custom. So
there you go.
It's a win-win. All right, last up, rounding out wave one, we have Clawful. I believe I didn't go back and listen, Shawn, but I believe I speculated this one back when we were doing our initials. So
I want to say you did, because the whole idea was let's get the body types going, where Clawful would be one where you're literally making the new arms and the legs to have like more of like a beast figure. And so this is a perfect first character to go to for that. Yeah.
The thing I'm most curious on this is this going to be a different scale than the other, or like different size than the others? Are they going to do the whole like MYP where this guy is towering over the other characters, or are they going to stick with a standard height body style? One of the things that I've loved about Mondo and their 1/6 is that they don't shy away from, changing. I mean, look at their Beast Man compared to like some of the other figures. Like if they do that with this, I would be really impressed. If they make him kind of the standard size as the other ones, I'm going to be a little disappointed, if I'm being honest.
Agreed. They've got to have you're doing 2000X, you've got to have it in that scale.
Yeah.
I like his little creatures he comes with. He's got a couple alternate heads, a roaring one. He's got his mace. And the funny thing is, on his base, they sculpted his cousin from the Island episode. You can see him.
Is that who it is?
Okay. Yes. Yep. You can the top view, you can see it's actually his shoulders and head, and then the picture on the left there, you can see his teeth and everything. So you get him popping up in the water. So that's fun.
They should have a sound effect with his voice.
Oh God. But yeah, it's one of those like I'm not shocked by it. Like and it makes sense. Like we got He-Man, we got Skeletor, Man-Arms is another kind of basic but important, and then Clawful is like, look at what we can do with this by putting them in the right scale and everything.
And
So
what was the other thing too is we had a statue of him, and that was it, if I remember correctly.
right.
So this is a nice one to go. We are going to go to places that the original line couldn't, and this is a good starting point to sell that, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So it's like when you're going to tell me, hey, we're going to actually do Hordak instead of it being a statue this time. I mean, how excited is that going to be for some fans? So
I think go ahead. Sorry, Adam.
Just profile, it looks very much like the NECA statue.
Sure.
And it makes me really excited because my favorites are Leech and Stinkor from the NECA statues. I would love articulated versions of those.
Yeah, I think the first three are the names, right? It's like the names you expect: Man at Arms, Skeletor, He-Man, and then this is really like, okay, now we're going to impress you with something wild, but it's only impressive if he's bigger. If he's not bigger, it's not that impressive.
And that's for me. I won't say that's a make or break with the line, but that is really going to be something I'm hanging a lot of hope on. Is make him a head taller than He-Man at least.
Yeah,
that's all I'm asking, is make him not be exactly the same size, at least a head taller, maybe a 7-inch figure of him. And and that's why he has less stuff, I'd imagine. Like he's got the base, but you see his pack out is so less, and I'm hoping that means it's because the figure is so more, And
do we know if the standard ones? Sorry, real quick. Do we know if the standard ones are 6-inch or are they like? I know 112,
6-inch scale.
Yeah, right. But I mean, we've heard 1/12 varies a lot. Like we've got some 1/12 that are more the 7-inch and some that are more the 6.
Actually,
I didn't know if you guys had heard anything on actual measurements on this stuff.
No, and I haven't seen that He-Man next to like any other figures to give us.
So, not Masters related, but they're doing that Real Ghostbusters line right now, and they were showing those off. They had the actual production versions, so like the versions if you pre-ordered, they were there for Egon and Peter. And one thing that somebody noticed when they were looking at them on a video I watched was Egon is taller than Peter.
Oh, that's
the line is considered 6-inch. But in the cartoon and even the original toys that Kenner put out, Egon was always just a little bigger because he was the tallest, lanky guy out of the group. And they're doing that with Real Ghostbusters. And I think Ray will end up being a little smaller than Peter and Winston. Winston and Peter are kind of the baseline 6-inch, and then Egon goes a little higher, maybe Ray will be a little lower. So that's why I'm hoping Clawful is them doing that. Yeah, we are going to have scale within the line that way, and that's a good figure to start with.
Imagine them not doing it because they already do it on their 1/6. Like Beastman
was
bigger than He-Man, So I can't imagine they would go here and all of a sudden be like, everybody's 6-inch no matter what.
and they haven't. That's what I love about Mondo is they don't shy away from we're gonna have to do new tooling to make this size disparity, but we're gonna go ahead and do that. But that's on 1/6 scale, like that. You're also paying a huge premium price for it. So
all right, so there's our wave one. There's their pack outs. We're gonna go down. Shawn, Adam, Curtis, and then me. Single figure price. What's your guess, Shawn?
Single figure price, I figure will be somewhere like around 75 with all the pack-ins.
I'm hoping no more than 80. I would say they could do it for like maybe 65 if they cut out a lot of accessories. But I don't know. Who knows what they'll do?
Curtis?
I honestly think, based on what I've seen with the Ghostbusters pricing, and based on what I'm seeing here, I think your first three that we looked at are probably going to be $100 even. I think this one, if they do make it bigger, you're probably talking like 125 would be my guess.
So one thing about that,
I didn't get my guess yet.
Go ahead, but then I want to address what Curtis just said.
I also was gonna, but I'll let you do it now.
Okay, you can do it.
I'm thinking 75, mainly for, again, taking the Ghostbusters into effect, taking their. I'm also looking at the slim down pack out, not that original He-Man concept art that had like a ton of extra accessories, and then what Sean's about to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, Mondo has already went on record saying the prices that they had, even for the single Ghostbuster and the small Ghost figure, those were locked in due to the licensor. So, and they have said that the Masters line is not going to be as expensive as the real Ghostbusters line has been.
Right.
So, if they're not going to do something where they're putting in, I mean, like Sam Hain and Peter, it's just going to be here's He-Man and all the extra stuff. I mean, if they could have that between 75 to 80 or even 85, that to me is a reasonable one for the amount of stuff in the original art they did, plus the base, if you ask me.
I mean, the Ghostbusters with the big ghost was like 200, right?
202,
and then single with the small ghost was like 100, 101.
Yeah, basically
101.
Yeah,
because they weren't allowed to charge. It was like $100.99. It had to be like above that. I mean, for the licensor,
they're definitely still going to have to pay some licensing, and the thing that threw me over the $100 mark on these is the addition of these bases. Like, to me, that's something that doesn't need to be there, and I think you only throw that in if you are trying to make people feel like they're getting more for the price that they're paying. I don't know.
And I have heard rumors that these will be a 2-pack.
Oh boy.
I don't. Would that make or break you, or would you be all in no matter what? I mean, at least about these first wave, because you figured they go He-Man, Clawful, and Skeletor Man at Arms.
I think it definitely makes some people be out of this line because some people are going to want to pick and choose individual characters, right? So now if you're stuck getting, like, if you want Skeletor, you got to get Clawful with it or whatever, like that may make some people out on this. For me, will it make a difference? I don't know. Probably if the pricing's right, probably not. If the pricing, if we're in Mezco Mafex price range, I'm definitely going to just pick up a few here and there. But if it's $70, man, I think I might be all in. So
I'm at least this early on, it wouldn't break me if we get to like King Miro and Tila or whatever, like a main where we get to the point where we're doing like a big character and some obscure ass character, like then maybe I'm, dipping a little bit. But this early on, it definitely wouldn't be make or break for me.
Well, the other question would be, how many are we going to get each year? Is it going to be 4 a year? If so, that's not terrible. If all of a sudden we start getting 20 in a year at $80 a piece or whatever, like, yeah,
I could see them doing at least 2 waves a year once they get moving here on production. Maybe 2 waves and an exclusive or 2. WonderCon, they usually are Designer Con, maybe San Diego.
I guess the thing for me is like I was trying every possible resource I could when we got that production art back in summer last year to find more information. And one of the panels they did address, they were like, well, it'll be a 3-wave line or 3-wave release when they release them. I'm sorry, I'm saying
3 figures.
3 character release.
They originally said
wave would be it was going to be 3. And then they said it was going to be twice, 2 waves a year, 3 characters each wave. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. This now shows almost like they didn't say that they're not going to be 3 characters, but they've only shown 4 characters so far. I don't know if they're still sticking with that. But from what I remember, the initial thing was they wanted to do 2 waves a year, which that automatically makes this one of the easiest ones to budget for me, because at least it's not every quarter I'm having to find a way to get another $200 to $300 to figure something out. even if that's what they end up doing.
Well, using your numbers, that's figures a year. Let's just say that it's a figure every other month, right? Are you guys good with $80 every other month to be all in?
Yeah,
for me,
and I would,
yeah,
I would honestly prefer too that they go to. I would rather it be a 4 figures in a wave, because that way we can get 2 heroes, 2 villains, and nobody's outpacing each other. Just for my own.
If it was 4 figures for the year, that would be golden. Like you're talking, $80 or $90 a quarter. Like hell yeah!
But that would also,
in fact, I would love this situation where they did kind of like the old Matty collector. Just let me pay my money monthly and just send me the figures when they're ready.
Yeah,
that and that the whole idea. Like I don't know if it, like I know Matt was saying 2-pack. I feel like it might just be a 2 figure thing. I don't think there'll be a pack of them.
2 figure drop.
More like they're doing with the Ghostbusters, 2 at a time.
Yeah,
4 times a year maybe.
And that's for me. I mean, I have had to pull back on a lot of the stuff, and through budget at home and all that stuff. But this is one of the few lines where when I told my wife this is what it is and this is the plan for it, she even was like, "Well, that's not that bad." And I'm like, okay. So it's like there was no argument in any way, shape, or form. This will be what I'm doing primarily.
That actually, that wouldn't be bad. Like $150, like every couple months.
Yeah.
That. And it would have you constantly getting, like, you'd have stuff shipping more regularly instead of a drought for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Adam, I know we've been talking all over you. Jump on in, buddy.
Yeah. Yes, because I'm not like collecting anything that like there's not one line right now that I'm collecting everything or even most things from. So right now, like I got the goddess just because I was bowled over by her, but I'm not on Origins really or Masterverse. So if there's one line that's coming out that's new that I need, given like the price points, okay, and if it's not too many times in a year, I could definitely make this work. And especially if they integrate well with classics, because I've got my classics collection. If they're kind of scale well with them, that'll make it even better.
And those are 7-inch, right?
Yeah, 6.5, 7, something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I now that I think about it more, like I think that scale is the actual size is going to probably be a big deciding factor for me. Yeah. If it's more like the 6.5 to 7-inch scale, I think I'm probably more excited about it. If it is a true 6-inch scale, like your classifieds and stuff like that, I might be out, because I have just found, and maybe it's just because I'm getting old, I don't know, like I really like seeing the 6-inch scale and opening them, but once I've opened them, I don't like displaying them. They're too small for me. Like I can't see them from across the room. I can't enjoy it as much. Which is why I really like the 1/6 stuff, because it's huge. Like I can see it from, the next house over. So yeah, I don't know. That might be a deciding factor as well. So we'll see.
All right.
What about I know several of us have been buying Mondo for a while, and they do a couple different things, right? Like they do some of these where they've only got a certain number and they open it up and they say, it's more of kind of an obscure character, and once it's gone, it's gone. And then they've got kind of your more main characters where they do an open pre-order for a week or 2 weeks. Do you think that they'll have some of that, like with this, like where they go to Designer Con and maybe they do like a more like kind of off the wall figure that it's like, we know this isn't going to sell as much as the regulars, so we only made, I don't know, 600 of these, and once they sell out, they sell out.
No, I hope they do, because I don't want those obscure characters or those weird variants that they're paying homage to. Like, I don't want them taking up a slot here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like the goddess, perfect example. Take her to WonderCon, sell the 500, 1,000 units, whatever, and she's done. Great. Everybody who who really needed that character had a chance, and those of us who, but it's not going, okay, so then this month, instead of getting Tila, we're getting Disco Skeletor.
Well, and I'm thinking as we've gone through the 2000X toys, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of repaints. There's a lot of like weird variant, different things, right? You know, even just like standard characters where they just later on did a different color on it that makes no sense. It's not in the cartoon or anything like that. It's just like they changed the color. Like those are ones that I think would be great for something like that.
Agreed.
Right. Or like one-offs like Calyx from that, you know, the Horde episode.
Yeah.
Yep. Or if
Or
you
the
wanted
Raid
the sorceress in the original color scheme that the Horseman wanted
Right.
instead of what was in the show. Yeah.
Well,
Or do you think they could release a dragon? Or no, that'd be crazy.
Oh,
no one could ever release a dragon.
That's nutty.
The one thing that I noticed people are open to is if they go with a very standard 2000X He-Man, and there is that production art with all the different other heads, the more traditional looking power sword, even the harness with the cross like the vintage He-Man has and stuff, doing that as like a designer con exclusive or something.
Right.
And that way you have a deluxe version out there that people who really are hungry for that have, but then people like us where it's like, how much is it going to be to get just the standard stuff here so we can start it? If they go, okay, 75 for the 2000X He-Man, but then it's 100 for designer con one that has all the bells and whistles on it and stuff too. I mean, that's another one where it's like I would be in for a lot of those things on top of that, because I do like that vintage-esque power sword. I do like having the original harness on top of everything else for certain characters. I don't need it for everybody, but like He-Man and Skeletor would probably be ones where I'm like, ooh, you're going to give me more? I'll take more, you know? And so Mondo's pretty good at doing that kind of stuff. So I would not be surprised if they're pulling that with this line in any way, shape, or form.
And think about like they could do stuff that we didn't get in any form, like a 2000X style Scareglow or Spike or guys like that.
I definitely want them to keep going down the rabbit hole. Adam, I know it's about that time that you said you had to be out. You got to take off, or you got a couple more minutes?
I got 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, let's get your thoughts here then. We'll all shut up. We got Mondo, Swiftwind, and She-Ra. This was the last item on the slide anyways. So, what are your thoughts on the new 1/6 scale Seed and the refresh of the Princess of Power?
Yeah, no, she's a gorgeous figure, especially Swiftwind. Just like those huge, colorful wings. I think, you know, if I had the budget and the space to get like a She-Ra thing, like this is like these two together. This is probably the most beautiful set of objects ever made for Princess of Power. Just these two, just amazing. And I think I saw Emiliano mentioned like he did this design before Scaremare. I guess it's been sitting in the hopper forever. So I'm glad for the anniversary of Princess of Power that they're getting this out there.
Beautiful. We do want to thank you, Adam, for coming on. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you around the interwebs.
So my site, primarily battleramblog.com. I'm on Facebook a lot. I do a lot of posting there. So just look up Battle Ram Blog on Facebook and Instagram. Those are mostly where I post.
Beautiful. So thank you again. We appreciate coming on. Sorry you have to leave. Sorry we talked too much as well.
It's all good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime you're ready to come back, we'll get you back on. So thank you, and thank you for all you do. Be sure to check him out on Facebook. He posts a lot of interesting stuff every day of the week. So thank you, sir, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, bye.
Later, man. Bye. Real quick before we get on this with the She-Ra stuff, just to touch on that 2000X real quick. Are you surprised they didn't start off with Samurai, He-Man, and Skeletor?
Fuck no. I hate you, Curtis. That won't even be a designer exclusive. Nothing.
For when you want a pogo version of both characters
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form.
All right, so on to the good stuff. So yes, Mondo did reveal their 1/6 Swiftwind, which we all knew was coming when they revealed Scaremare. And then they did reveal a new She-Ra refresh to go along with it. Very similar to the original one. They did show some concept art. There's a Swiftwind. So Swiftwind does come with 2 minifigures. I was kind of worried one of them would be with She-Ra, but it turns out he comes with his son and he comes with Lukey. So nice added bonus there. And then the She-Ra figure has all the pieces to create a Filmation She-Ra, a vintage toy-inspired She-Ra, and Bubble Power She-Ra.
Is this a deluxe? Is this similar to the Skeletor and the He-Man?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
So because the original version, she came with I forget what was in, because there was like a deluxe of the first one. Which came with, I know it came with Cowl, because he's the one creature figure I don't have, and it came with the Filmation inspired Sword of Protection, and I can't remember what else. And then they released a standard version, which is the one I have of her, which is pretty much mostly like the one on the left in this picture, where it's a very Filmation inspired outfit, Mondoized. This looks to be a bit more of a direct interpretation of the 3 versions, whereas the one they released was more Mondo-esque.
How does that standard one on the left compare to the one that they released? Like, do you know what the differences are? Because I don't recall on that. I had it. I never actually even opened it. I got it and then turned around and immediately sold it to Stephen Bisciotti. So
I think the boots on the original Mondo one are different. I think there's here we go.
So if you want to embiggen,
yeah. Well, hold on. Let me. How do we do this? I want to try to. There we go. Let's look at that.
There we go. So yeah, see, like she's got much more Mondo-esque, like they've got their design on her skirt, very Filmation inspired chest piece, but even then, like
the hair looks different.
The hair is different. Even this crown is like their version, whereas very much the Filmation tiara there. I actually got this sword I got off eBay because it was the exclusive piece. And then the shield.
It looks like the cape is more. Well, I mean, that could just be the design there, but it looks like it's tapered in more on the new one.
Well, and it does have the wire too, so you can.
Right.
I've got it flared out, but then even the boots, like Mondo has these very Mondoized boots.
Yep.
And you think it's going to be more kind of
more plain from the pictures, more Filmation-esque. That's what I'm saying. So it looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like more straight interpretation of the Filmation and then the 2 vintage figures.
I think the bracers look more like the original toy as well.
Right.
Like, because your bracers are a little bit more stylized, right?
Yeah, they got all the spirals and everything. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. So that's, I guess, the best comparison would be that newest Scare Glow they did, where it just looks like the vintage figure amped up, as opposed, or not the newest one, I guess, but they did that one Scare Glow that was just the vintage toy scaled up. Yeah, that looks like what they're doing with the She-Ra here. Obviously a great idea for those who missed the previous one and who now want Swiftwind and are like, I can't have a Swiftwind without a She-Ra. So but Swiftwind also comes with
one more thing real quick. Do yours on the shin guards, do they have straps on the back like this one, or they go all the way around?
Yeah, they have straps.
Okay, gotcha.
That one looks like it's more, maybe just the lighting. That one looks more like it's straps over bare skin.
Yeah.
But this one is like boots all the way around. But that might just be a trick of the lighting on the picture.
Okay.
And then but Swiftwind comes with updated shin armor, similar to Battle Cat, which I love. Then he comes with 3 heads. He's got the spirit head. Then he's got a vintage Filmation style mask. And then he's got it's a very toy inspired mask is the one he's got on in the photo. Articulated wings. And then, like we said, he comes with his son and Lukey. So
nice.
This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Seeing this thing made my wallet hurt because I'm like, I've got He-Man, I've got Battle Cat, I've got She-Ra. I kind of have to get Swiftwind.
Yeah, I had Hordak for about a couple months, and I got rid of him. I had She-Ra, and I sold her before I even opened it. So I'm glad that I'm not stuck in that realm because I would have to get this, but yeah, right. I'm staying away from the Princess of Power stuff. So,
and the other thing he has is his chest armor, for lack of a better word. The one he has on is a very stylized Mondo interpretation, but he does actually come with a very Filmation faithful one that you can swap out to.
Do they not have that in this picture?
So desire. It might not be in this. Okay. Well, it's there, but it's behind the Filmation head.
Oh, okay.
On the ground. You just can't see it from this angle. I saw it in another picture.
I thought that was still part of the head. So gotcha.
On Facebook. So
I mean, I don't need this, and I'm sure it's going to have a hefty price tag, but it looks beautiful. I think the paint job on the wings, like those, the metallic colors, and even just like the head armor, chest armor, like the way that they did the paint job is really good. Mm-hmm. You know, as somebody that was a huge Clash of the Titans fan as a kid, like, man, it makes me go, man, if they did like a Pegasus and Perseus, you know, Mondo did that, I would be, it would be really hard for me not to pull the trigger on that. But yeah, this looks awesome, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, and I love the way they articulated the wings so that you will be able to like fold them down.
And like it folds inward and articulates.
Yeah, it's got the ball joint. So you could do the flying like completely spaced out. Like there's a lot of options there. That's one thing with the classics Swiftwind. After all these years, like it's that sculpt is really feeling the age. The articulation wise, the wings are one solid piece. Like it's not great for displaying, unfortunately.
I've got to say though, the last couple of years, I've seen a couple different folks put out some horse figures, and I always find it humorous. Like if you look at it, the articulation points are like the way that they've done them. Yeah, exactly the horseman's model. Like the front legs, are attached from the torso itself.
I'm gonna
grab mine. And they kind of go straight down, so they don't go out to the side. The ones in the back, like the big thighs in the back, are attached separately to the buck, and then come down. Like it's the exact same articulation that the horsemen use on their horses, which actually brings a little newness to the name, the Four Horsemen. Right? You know, they are the horsemen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Shawn?
I mean, for me, She-Ra is always that, and I know Matt hates me doing this, but She-Ra is always that line where I'm just usually like, I zone out, because She-Ra herself being connected to He-Man, it's like, okay, I'll give her cred, but the rest of it never really fazed me. As a figure, this is gorgeous. And from what I understood, I saw a video yesterday morning where the guy from Mondo was talking about this, and he actually said this is not even remotely how big these wings will go. This is how big they could fit it into the case.
That's awesome.
Because literally you're encasing how big this wingspan will be for Swiftwind, which for me, I'm like, I can only imagine how this wingspan will be when you get it fully extended the proper way.
That's a good point, because I mean, you got to keep in mind she's 12 inches tall, right?
Yes,
And those wings are at least twice as high as her. So
exactly.
you better make sure you got some room, folks.
I mean, like seeing stuff like this, there is that, like we are in a really cool age for what we love, because you're getting some of the best. Like if you would have told me in 1985 what we're getting now, I would probably have fallen over and gone into sugar shock or something, because I would have never thought I'd have a freaking 1/6 Battle Cat on my shelf until the last couple of years. So, but yeah, this is it's a beautiful, gorgeous rendition of Swiftwind. There's no doubt about it. It's not for me, but for Matt, I'm happy for you, man. I'm not happy for your wallet, because by the way, I did look up the numbers here on Mondo's shop. The initial Scareglow Deluxe bundle that they did with Scaremare was $775, and the Scaremare by himself was $599. So, which is almost $100 more than Battle Cat, which actually surprised me.
Yeah, I looked that up too, but I'm also honestly wondering if there was a premium attached to Scaremare, because they knew like Swiftwind's going to outsell Scaremare.
Yeah.
Well, also it was the first time that they used that tooling, right? So they had to pay for the molds and stuff. So maybe it's, I don't know. We'll see.
I would like him to wind up closer to Battle Cat, obviously. I would love him to come in under Battle Cat, but
with that wingspan, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, right? Like she's 12-inch. Now picture, you all have Battle Cat and He-Man. Picture He-Man standing next to Battle Cat, and then Swiftwing standing next to Battle Cat. Like that's gonna be impressive.
Yeah.
So
well, you went and got that Swiftwind that you've got. Was there something that you wanted to compare or talk about?
Just kind of what you touched on here. I'm probably gonna hit the wrong thing.
That's fine.
But yeah, just because technically this is Horseman sculpting, right? But I
this
love
was their first version of this, yeah.
But so I mean, like I said, the solid wing, it looks gorgeous. You've got nice mobility and everything, but like that's it.
Doesn't fold up.
Up, down, maybe that at best. The legs on this thing are what do not hold up from age. Like they come to a point, and they've got 1, 2, 3 points of articulation, but it like takes a lot of work to get him into a pose where he can stand. Like he is a pain to actually do. And even up top, he's got, technically there's a ball joint there, but like,
it doesn't do a lot.
That's your range of motion. You've got some head up and down.
You got what?
You get some head up, down,
up
all
and
around.
Down, yeah.
But yeah, the articulation, like I love the look of this figure, but it's almost one that I wish I had left in box because it looks more impressive than anything you can do posing. And I know Shawn and I have said for a long time, like, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Like, it'd be cool to see a more up-to-date based on, like you said, what the Horsemen are doing with horses now. And definitely this Swiftwind, seeing that better, that wider, I guess I can go back to sharing that, but
yeah, but even like if you think of how impressive the horses are that the Horsemen are doing here, you just do it and add it back in. But if you think of how impressive that is, now you take that to a 1/6 scale, right? And it's like, man.
But I mean, look at that powerful horse stance now. Like the back legs are wide, the front legs like it's solidly standing.
Yeah.
If anything, I think they were trying to pay too much homage to the original Barbie horse that they used for the vintage figure. Whereas I want a horse. I want my winged, white, rainbow feathered horse. Like, and this thing delivers 1,000-fold.
For sure.
Beautiful. All right. That's what I got for toys. Curtis is trying to figure out where he can get the Swiftwind in his case.
No, I
told
was.
him, he's like,
No, what I was actually looking at. Okay, I'm stupid. So my whole thing with Mondo on the 1/6 scale is like, how many can I legitimately fit in my collection,
Sure.
and what do I need? And so I was like, I needed to figure out a way to kind of, I don't know, put some parameters on it. We love parameters, right?
sure.
So I was just looking at the not the 8-back, but the original 12-back,
Sure.
right? And what we don't have from the 12-back so far is Triclops.
Oh, I was going to guess.
Oh, go ahead. There's 3 more.
Manny Faces,
Manny Faces,
Ram Man.
One more.
We got Evil in now.
Zodak.
Zodak.
Zodak is not in the 12-back.
Oh, they took him off the 12-back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I'm drawing a blank then.
Stratos is the last one on the 12-back.
Oh, da.
Last one for kickball too.
So
I'd rather have Zodak before Stratos. So
I would second that actually.
yeah, but if I'm looking at this and I go, man, if I just went with 12-back and they put out a Ram Man, Manny Faces, Stratos, and Triclops, could I fit those 4 into what I've got right now? And
Well,
actually maybe
they did reveal the Manny Faces too. We didn't go over
right.
that.
Yeah,
no, we did they revealed him at San Diego. We went over him at that time.
Oh, okay.
I never saw him before. I saw him this weekend for the first time.
So that was the production.
They showed off the production. They showed off the concept art at San Diego.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We just didn't see the. Gotcha.
So,
he's coming.
Yeah, the one thing that blew my mind about that, just real quick, is he's going to come with 12 different heads, and one of the heads is actually his actor head with no thing around it, which kind of surprised the hell out of me because that's the first time we're getting that version of him.
Yep. But no one will ever display him like that.
No,
but
it's that whole. But it's nice to know it's there.
I agree.
That is weird. Like I'm sorry, but this is just bugging me now that they took Zodak off of when they went from the 8 to the 12, that they took Zodak off. That's weird, right? Like it's the only thing that got removed.
Right.
So, and then as I'm looking at the original 12-back.
And to add who? So then they added, Manny Faces, Ram Man, Triclops got added.
They also have Trapjaw and Faker. Right?
Wasn't Faker 8-back?
Hold on, let me see.
No, I don't think he Faker.
I don't think he
Faker
was
an 8-pack. He was after the 8-pack, if I remember right. The 8-pack ones.
The original 8-back is He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Tila, Zodak, Stratos, Skeletor, Merman, and Beastman.
Okay, so they took off Zodak and then added the 5. Got it.
Yep. Yeah. So
I never paid that much attention.
And also as I'm looking at the 8-back, and maybe is this the Faker actually did have the pink armor on the picture of the 8-back.
Mm-hmm.
And not when we got it, because the vintage Faker had the orange armor. Yeah. But on the card back it has pink.
Oh, you're looking at the Zodak card back.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's why Zodak's not on it. Because then if you look at Stratos's card back, then Zodak's on there.
See, okay. Maybe this is from the same place. Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're right. Yep.
So, but it looks like it's either Zodak or Faker, depending on which 12-back you're looking at.
Okay. Because I'm looking at Skeletors, and on Skeletors, it's got Faker. It does not have Zodak.
Right.
Same thing with He-Man, but if you do look at the Faker one, the Faker one has Zodak, so they replace him with Zodak.
And Stratos has Zodak, so it's weird.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that the original art on the back of the box had pink armor for Faker. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
I thought that was something that was later on that people did. I didn't realize that that's from the original art.
Mm-hmm.
No, and we think that's why Leo did it that way. Because when they went to make their Faker, they looked at that card back art, and they made it that color.
And then they gave him shades just because everybody's cooler with shades. So
I mean, he kind of is. So.
yeah.
Don't push the balloon on the guy in shades. Oh no. That's
Yeah,
how it works,
exactly.
ladies.
But going back to your point, for me, if I had more space and funds than I have, it'd be all random. Like I couldn't even do like 12-back or 8-back or whatever, because I'd rather have a Buzz Off over a Stratos or over a Zodak or like, you know what I mean?
I would
like,
love a Stratos, and I think it would be hard for me to turn down a Ram Man. I think if they did a Ram Man,
would be tough.
And that would be a rough one to not do. But
Yeah.
I think I could
$500.
pass on Manny Faces. Manny Faces was never one that, I don't know.
I liked playing with the toy, but like the character himself doesn't do much for me, if that makes sense. Like
I didn't like the fact that you couldn't turn his head, right? Like that he had the whole neck, that everything went into the torso.
Never even thought about that as a kid.
That just was always weird to me. It was like
it's
like in order to he had to turn his whole body to look at something. Like
Well, so did Michael Keaton. I mean,
that's also why you don't like
exactly.
the Michael Keaton Batman. That's
I
why
love
he's the
Keaton
worst
Batman.
Batman.
What are you talking about?
So.
He's the best.
I mean, when they showed the production one of it this weekend, I'm like, oh, because he and Fisto were two, where I was like, I got to see what they do with them. But I think for Mondo, the production art made it look like here's a classics figure just blown up. It didn't feel Mondo-ized enough to me. Right. And now that I saw it this weekend, I'm like, it still feels like a lesser Mondo, but it actually still is working for me. But I think I'd rather see a Fisto at this point and see what they do with him, because I think he'll be a hell of a good one.
How do you think they would do Stratos? Because like in Vintage, he had the same body as Beastman, right? But they're clearly not going to do that in Mondo. Like they're not going to give him that big Beastman body.
No.
So I wonder how they would do that. They would have to definitely sculpt new feet for him, right? Because we don't have any of those like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like bare feet that aren't clawed.
Yeah.
But I would be all over a Stratos. Stratos was my favorite growing. My two favorite figures were Stratos and Trapjaw. Like I played with them nonstop.
Stratos would have a lot of opportunity for them to really play with it. Like Stratos. Yeah. Stratos is one of those, he can be a really awesome character or a really boring character depending on what you push out of his vintage design. So
and he'd be a good one for them to do the swap out for Designer Con or an exclusive somehow.
Yeah. Oh,
because you can do here's the flesh toned one, here's the gray one, and if you're depending which version of it you like, there you go. And maybe 1,000 pieces like they just did with Goddess,
Yeah, do the standard jetpack, but also do it to where you can attach the tubes and have the controls like the 1000X. Like
for sure. Yeah,
that
there's
is
a lot of opportunity.
That is for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
We do live in a good time for collecting, that's for sure. So
I think that's an episode.
I think so.
And I think NECA. I think Mondo's winning at Masters right now. Like
I'll be honest, I think I was talking about it last night in the clubhouse. I think Mondo right now is winning 1/6. Like it used to be when you talked about 1/6, you like the main thing people talked about was Hot Toys. But when you compare it, like Hot Toys, a lot of them now is you've kind of got like that endoskeleton, like that, like the metal joints and stuff, and then it's covered with like poofy vinyl or soft goods or whatever. Mondo's actually making action figures that are 1/6 scale. Like they are plastic, chunky, like it just feels like an action figure you had as a kid blown up, right? And those other ones are really more like you put it in one pose, you put it on your shelf and that's it. Whereas these actually feel like toys.
Right.
So I think they're winning Motu, and I think they're winning 1/6 right now.
Beautiful. All right, Shawn, any parting words? Where can they find you? Still hiding?
I don't know. I'm cut back a bunch, but I'll show up occasionally from time to time, especially if we're going to talk about the Mondo stuff, because this is making me happy. But yeah, parting words. Until next time,
Curtis.
I'm everywhere, but hopefully you see me doing some more MYP with the Dooch. We got to get our schedules aligned. and just make sure that we're making time for it. And then, I don't know when this is going to drop, but
tomorrow,
okay.
Immediately.
There is a, dragon campaign going on right now for Mythic Legions. It's got a week left. We're going to be doing a 24-hour telethon on the last day of the campaign. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be across multiple different channels, but if you haven't checked it out, that dragon is awesome. And I am planning on getting an extra one just to paint as Granomir. So I'm super excited for that. So
that telethon starts Saturday, April 5th.
Saturday, April 5th. We're doing a pre-show at 9 p.m. with PGG, and then the 24-hour actually starts at 11 p.m. on Eastern on Saturday, goes to 11 p.m. On Sunday Eastern. That's when the campaign ends. So, it's a little bit different than some of the other like crowdfunding campaigns because it's not through Kickstarter. So you do have to pay for the thing up front. So when you order is when you pay for it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think we're going to see a big push right at the end. Some folks that, there wasn't an early in bonus or anything like that. It wasn't like Kickstarter where they don't take your money till the end. So I think there's a lot of folks that are going to wait till either the last weekend or maybe even the last day.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to probably hit some cool stretch goals, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Beautiful. So Purple Gang Gang Live kicks it off. If you're on the socials, definitely check out. I know the schedule's been posted in the Cabal.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably find it on Curtis's page. I need to get it posted on my page and the Legends of Grayskull page. But yeah, definitely check it out. Lots of great channels involved, so it should be a lot of fun.
I gotta say, one of the ones that I'm most excited for is to see the off-world, the Mortal Kombat Dragon bracket.
Dragon Combat! Bum, bum,
Yeah,
bum, 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 bum,
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I know, but the only bad part is I got to wake up at 3 a.m. So
yeah.
All right,
well,
guys.
actually, it'll be 2 a.m. for us, right? I mean, I'm going to be up the whole time.
Oh, you did put everything in Eastern. I would have been an hour late. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please check out L.O.G on MYP. It's been a lot of fun. Plenty more to come. Like, share, subscribe, all those buttons. And until next time, save your pennies because Mondo 2000X Mo2 is coming.
Oh, come on.